version of yourself just encourages them to think about, what do you want to stand for? What do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
Now, for the athletes that are interested in that, this is a great extension of that. As you're thinking about attracting sponsors or attracting admissions officers at different colleges, the dollars are so high, it's not just the product on the field that they are going to be concerned about. They want to know, what type of person are you? And can they align their product and business with you? Do those values align? And so this definitely feeds into a lot of those issues that some of the higher level athletes are thinking about.
Well, and they look, I mean, teams are looking, right? I mean, and employers are looking. I talk to my kids about this all the time. Like this persona, even, I mean, on all your social media platforms, right? Your employer is going to look at those to see what kind of person you are, to see what you post, to see, who, and I think that's super important. So that's really relevant.
And I think that's one of the biggest lessons for kids. I mean, kids are smart. They're very technologically savvy, but I try to encourage them to think about, who are all the different customers in your life, right? If you're a product, who are your customers? Mm-hmm. You've got your coach, your teammate, your parents, families, but now you might have potential employers, social media followers, and colleges, scouts, all of it. And so if you do something or post something on social media, one of your customers might think, hey, that's funny, that's clever. They might laugh, you might get a reaction. But what about the other customers, right? They might view it completely differently. And so the other playbook walks them through that process of understanding their brand through the lens of all their different customers.
Yeah, just from a communication standpoint, and I'm not talking about talking, I'm talking about, the totality of the package that gets delivered out there. It's organized around the meaning that people make up. And what I'm really struck with, I was teaching a class earlier this week with high school students. I'd been asked to come in and comment on a couple of things, and we unbundle, and they're focusing on communication right now. And we basically started to unbundle the distinction between motivation and inspiration, and the idea of clarifying value and purpose. Was became part of that conversation. What's the personal value that you're bringing? What's the purpose that you're seeing? Bringing forward in the conversations that you're having with the folks that you're having conversations with, and that's where inspiration can begin to actually be the overarching mover rather than an external motivator, which would be more social driven, social construct driven. So there's a place where integrity actually has a role. Integrity to what? To who I am, and I can't have that unless I know who I am. So I'm assuming in a large part, a good portion of the curricula there is organized around identifying, not from an NIL perspective, but more from a personal, who am I that I'm bringing to market.
And it's a great question that even as adults, we often don't ask ourselves often enough. And it makes you wonder, why aren't we having these conversations with our kids? It's interesting. A lot of the organizations I work with, whether they're school districts or, colleges, club teams, they'll have team values. And I've gone through this experience as a parent. When you register your child to play for a school sport, there are a number of forms you have to sign. You've got your concussion test and, the healthcare form and the values. And it's kind of like the cell phone form, right? You scroll through it and just click I accept at the bottom without really reading it. And so the schools say, well, we have these values, and we tell the kids what the values are, but there are two issues with that. One, we don't ask the kids, well, what are your values? What do you want to stand for? And then two, we don't show them, okay, if these are the values, how do we live those values? What do we get there? It has to be more than just a sign on a wall or a page on the website. And so one of the things I really appreciate about the conversations I've had through this book is talking to young people about, what are the things you want to stand for? What's important to you? Okay, let's help you get there. Let's build the behaviors that drive those. So you don't have to tell your coach, hey, I'm a great teammate, or I'm really collaborative. They can see that from your behavior.
Perfect.
Yeah.
People can find out more about not only the book, but the work that you're doing at r3communication.pro. Yeah, .pro. So I want to mark that one out. That's a little unusual in the naming conventions here, but r3communications.pro. Amit, thank you so much. I love what we're having a conversation about here. And as I mentioned, I know David is going to want to go a little bit deeper with some of this stuff as well. So we will have you back on another show.
Great. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. You take care.
Thanks, Amit.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I like this.
I need to get that book. I need to get that book for my kids for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of Amit, we've got another Amit coming in here. Yeah. We got names all over the place here. And you're actually coming in from Istanbul, I believe. Is that correct today?
No, I'm in Atlanta, but yes, I do. Had a long time there.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks like today's your A day.
Yeah, today had it, or show notes had you down as being based in Istanbul. So apologies for that. I should have checked.
No problem at all. I do travel there frequently. Spend like 3-4 months of the year there. So
okay,
yeah.
So global leadership thought leader and former president of Coca-Cola International. Yeah, we got quite a rap sheet here. I'm not going to go into all of it, but you've also got a new book, that I again, I love titles. I love one of my favorite books. Just kind of a tangent comment here was one that was a precursor to Conscious Capitalism. Rosh Sisodia actually wrote it, and it was called Firms of Endearment. It still is the best book title I've ever heard. Firms of Endearment.
Yeah.
And yours is Soulgery, SOUL, Soulgery, a lifelong guide to unlocking your potential. Given your work history, and not only your work history but your life history, I've just got to assume that there's a wealth of information in here around the nature of leadership, the nature of life itself. I'm going to just kind of open the field up here and have you just expand and expound on some of the findings in the book and what your intent was in putting the book together.
Sure. Maybe I start with the last. I've been in business for like 33 years, and 26 of which was with the Coca-Cola Company, a company I love. And most of that was in a number of different geographies. I was based in Istanbul mostly initially. At the end, I was in Atlanta, but I've had a chance to experience pretty much every culture. I never had responsibility for our U.S. business, but I lived in the U.S., so I was able to experience that. I've had one insight from all these years, and that was every business at the end of the day is a people business. So in other words, if you can create an environment where people flourish, both individually and as teams, as a leader, your most important duty is to create that environment. Yes, of course, that can't be the only thing. You have to be mindful of the strategy, the execution, and the outside stakeholders, all of that. Yes, that's all given. But what really matters at the end of the day is that you create that environment. And that boils down to understanding people, what they respond to and what brings out the best in them. But the trick for that is it starts with yourself. If you don't understand yourself, if you don't apply that same lens to yourself. So that created my passion for individual and collective potential. And I know that may sound a little abstract, but I'm talking about it in the sense of real life potential to come up with that one idea that creates a brand that takes the world by the storm. That happens through people. So when I retired from Coke, and by the way, I tried to apply a leadership approach while I was there that really lives that. And there's no perfection in this. You just try to get better at it every day. And knowing that you're always imperfect, you'll always learn. So I said, okay, what do I feel most passionate about for my new phase, that where I'm not a global business executive. And that was, can I put together a framework, a system where an individual can build themselves for life, no matter what their age, no matter what their life stage, no matter what their culture, what their country. What is that system that allows people to build themselves every day? And I define that is to be more capable, more impactful, and more resilient. That's what my definition of building yourself for the better. So I spent 8 years and created this. Why did I call it Soldry? So, because I realized that this starts with yourself, you sort of do self-surgery on yourself while you're living your life, while you're having that tough negotiation. You're also looking inward. You're saying, what's in me that I need to sort of curate, rearrange so that I do my best in there? So it's always from the inside out. So it is a bit of self-surgery. Then I added the word soul. That sort of initially went against my belief, because my belief is that none of us can operate on our souls. The soul is something different, but we can connect with it. And when we do connect with that soul, we do get the flows for inspiration, for intuition, for imagination. So those are the parts of the human being that really, matter, especially in this day and age where we're going with artificial intelligence. So, so I said, okay, I could still call it self-surgery of the soul. And I just put a little paragraph in the book saying, by that I mean that we don't operate on the soul, but we operate on our psyche, on our thoughts, emotions, and thinking patterns. We sort of step back from ourselves, observe those, understand those, evaluate those, and make conscious decisions to change them. Do we do it right all the time? Nope. But if we do have a habit of doing this, with some self-honesty and awareness, we learn. We learn over time. And in fact, we gain this incredible capability we all have, ability to work on our own psyche at deeper levels. I really think it's a matter of practice. And that's why I wrote this book. I just wanted this book to represent all of what I just told you now, and serve it to the world and let people consider it. So I know this sounds a little bit sort of too much, maybe, but I tried to put it together in a way that, this is a model, a Soldry model. You can start practicing with this model from any part of it, and you can move with any part of it, because in reality, as human beings, we are holistic beings. So just imagine this one. There was a lot of sports here while I was watching that, you're going to play a very important game. While you're playing that game, let's take tennis, like individual game. You're going to play a very important game. Now, every move you make, every decision you make in a split second, I explain in the book that it touches many parts of what I call the self map. I have the self map in the book, which describes what it means to be human. It talks about being four-dimensional beings. It talks about our willpower. It talks about our wisdom. It talks about our character, all these things. Any action, any decision we make touches many parts of that self map. And growth happens by taking that self map forward. And with each testing experience we have in life, we can grow all of them simultaneously. Now, it is for that reason that I tried to design this in a way that, hey, you could start anywhere. If you want to focus on personal planning, yeah, go ahead and do that. But as you read that, you're going to find that it's connected to so many other areas in that self map. And then as you keep practicing it, you're going to have what I call holistic growth. The self map, the self moves forward all together. Each testing experience. So let me just stop here, because I think I went a little long.
Oh, not at all, not at all. But this is going to be, I think, a softball serve up to Rhett because the head of mentals really kind of explores a lot of what it is that you've been talking about with your book. So, Dr. Power, it's all up to you.
Well, thank you. Look, I'm fascinated. You talked about and framed a lot of this, and the thoughts come from Eastern and Western philosophy. Talk about that a little bit, because I find that really interesting that you looked at both of those sort of ways of living and thinking and existing in the world. How did you blend that? And talk a little bit about what you took from each, maybe.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. In the Western culture, in my career, you subscribe to things like you cannot, don't expect what you don't inspect, right? Everything is rational, data-driven. And is that wrong? Absolutely not. But is that everything? No. And, we're pretty much on the Western side of things, we are rational perfectionist, maybe. We're focused on the goal itself that we want to. But on the Eastern side of the world, it's the process. It's the process of continual evolution. So I ask myself, it doesn't have to be either or. If you are focused on the process, you don't have to be reckless about your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you focus about your goals, you don't have to ignore the depth from which your actions emerge. What's the way to merge them two? And I've been very lucky. I've been fortunate. I was born in Turkey. I grew up there until 21. Then I spent 20 years here. 11 years in the United States. Then I went back there. But then when I went back there, I just didn't live there. I've had a territory ranging from south of Africa to India to Russia and all of that. And just the way I engaged in those countries just taught me a lot about them. So some of this has come to me naturally. And I have this, this is coming from the Western side, never accept what they tell you. So in a course, people told me, well, we have this three-pillared leadership model that it's really about strategy, execution, and people. And in our research, we have found that no leader is ever good in all three. Good leaders are good in two of them and not on the other. What was my instant reaction? I was in this training course. I said, why? Why not? Why can't I do that? So this drive to try to get the best of all, best of East and best of West. Now, that's general, but I'll tell you just one very specific thing that I believe is new. There are many new things in the Soldry approach, but this is probably at the crux of it. If you Google the word sense of self, I've done that. I don't know if it still comes out the same way. Like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 says, how do you build a strong sense of self? That's what the Western culture values. That is important. But to me, the more important question is this. How does your sense of self get in the way of your growth?
Mm-hmm.
That's at the center of Soldry.
Yep.
So that doesn't make building a strong sense of self unimportant, but it sort of draws a line that in the name of building a strong sense of self, are you fooling yourself? Or are you behaving in ways that instead of just doing what's right, or instead of just getting involved with the task at hand, how much are you trying to serve your sense of self? How much are you trying to elevate it? How much are you trying to protect it? And all of these activities are futile because it's only relevant to you, not to others.
Right.
And so all of us have this. By the way, the good news is that all of us have this. And it's all of us have, if I'm raising a kid, I want to do the things that's right for the kid. But I also want my father to tell me, hey, kid, you're a good dad. Is that bad? No, it's not bad. So there's always the mix of these motives that you're doing it for. But the question is, can we raise our awareness to the level that this serving the sense of self motive is sort of a little too much, or maybe it's dominating. And I think the human psyche works in such a way that we do that to ourselves, and we sort of justify it, and we don't realize it. Before we know it, it's become a habit, and it's sort of, that holds us back. That holds our growth back. So that's an example of that's from the culture of the land that I was born in. That this sense of self thing, and I tried to merge that with the Western approach of approaching life.
That the whole idea of egoic self, which is essentially what you're describing, does and then, the East-West dynamic here. When you start looking at Dharma, through the Bhagavad Gita is a great description of that that split in one sense. Who's in the driver's seat? This artifice that I've manufactured, with tools that I was paying attention to out here as I was growing up, or the soul that is already fully formed that wants to express itself, and it will use the ego if it's allowed to express itself.
So well said.
So the reconciliation of that is something that, and I love it in a business context. For me, the purpose of business is to uplift the experience of being alive on the planet. If you do that well, you got a pretty good shot at being successful, because people are going to want to play. But a lot of businesses lose track of that in the egoic pursuit of the business, the strategy, the market share capture. All of that stuff, which feeds the ego, but does not necessarily, and oftentimes not even close to, feeding the soul of the business. This is, I love Patagonia's move. They identified what the soul, this is the soul of our business. And the business model will compromise our ability to actually leverage that. So now he gave away a $3 billion company. Literally gave it away. It's just a fascinating story that is one man's search for how the soul of the business, the soul of the people, can actually, the soldiery. How he basically performs soldiery on Patagonia. I think it's a great model for this.
And in our world, it really is. It comes down to managing these sort of possibly conflicting goals. You cannot ignore either. If you're running a company, you cannot ignore shareholder value.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're the single owner, you can do whatever you want, but many businesses have so many stakeholders, and you cannot ignore that. But that doesn't mean you have to sort of shift to that side so much that you lose the soul of the business. And the role of a good leader is to really, embrace and resolve this paradox in a way that adds value to all its stakeholders, including their shareholders.
Yeah, beautiful. You can find out more about Soldiery by going to Soldiery, SOULGERY, soldiery.com. And I neglected to mention this on the front end when we brought you in. Dave is in Dubai right now. He'd love to continue this conversation. So when he is available and you're available, we'll get you on a show where he can actually, bring some very thought out questions.
Well,
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed sharing this with both of you, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being so articulate about it.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, another one's put to bed. Office hours number 833.
Man, what a group of people,
No kidding. Yeah. Takeaway, outside. Did you warm up a little?
I did. I'm actually, I wasn't going to take this off because now my hair is going to be all,
hat hair.
I'm actually hot now. It's the takeaway. I love this conversation about the soul and this morning, and I our last two guests, particularly, really trying to help, with young people, trying to really start thinking about those questions about who I am and what do I believe, and And then with Hamid, I just feel like we don't do enough, and maybe it's why you and I get to coach, but we don't do enough thinking about those kind of things. I think most people are so busy and so over and trying to make it in this world that we forget that these questions are so important to how we live and how we live in harmony and happiness and peace. I love these conversations because they make me think, am I thinking about these things enough, doing enough work on these things in my own life so that I can show up for everybody I need to show up for in a way that is congruent with who I want to be. And I think that's my takeaway this morning.
No, I'm going to just piggyback on that. That is the reason I coach. It's the reason I speak and teach, is finding ways to crack that door open so people can kind of go, "What's in here?" Oh,
yeah,
that's
right.
who I am. Damn,
Ooh, I got some work. Yeah, I got some work to do. Right. Yeah.
And it's just on its point. It's a lifelong process. I mean, it's not certainly one and done. Who I am today. In the eighth, is it the eighth, 10, wherever in the hell I am, 7th or 8th decade of my life, is fundamentally different than when I was in my 20s. I mean, it's fundamentally different. I'm paying attention to different things. I've got different aspirations, but there's a thread that connects it all. There's this little piece that's And for me right now, that little thread is getting wider and broader and more colorful, and that's the soul for me. And it's a lifelong journey. Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, the philosopher, the philosopher king, talked about being well read, and he was not talking about reading a lot of books. He was talking about going deep into key books that really resonate with you. I mean, so you really not just have an intellectual understanding, but you have a visceral experience of what the author was speaking about. And that takes time. That takes study.
It does.
And that's what the soul actually, wants, but it also is what it uses to leverage its expression.
Yeah. So, well, you are a philosopher, my friend.
That and 350 will get you a cup of coffee.
I don't know about that. That's some wisdom right there.
Well, you are a wise man to be doing what you're doing, folks. Head of Mentals. I keep coming back to it, and not just because Rhett's my friend and he's here with me. I've read the book. You want to pick this up. And it is very consistent with what we've just been talking about here. How leaders can crack, not only track, but crack negative self-talk. You do yourself a favor, get a copy of the book. You will be very well served. And then well read it.
I am going to borrow that today, my friend. I am going to borrow that. That is good. That's good stuff. That is good stuff.
Buddy, love having you with me, and we'll see you next week. Stay warm.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Sorry I couldn't be here last week, but
well, you were scuba diving. You were getting yourself all wet. There was a little New Year's baptism.
Yeah, but Happy New Year to you and the family, and thank you so much. So grateful for you, man. So grateful for you, and David for giving us this platform. So
absolutely, this is good stuff. Take care.
Thank you.
Gigi, take us home.